Hello everyone and welcome to Tier Above the Rest. Today we're going to do Bayern Munich for the 2024-2025 season. The Bayern Munich won the Bundesliga as they always do. Well, they didn't last year, which was, kind of odd for them with the Harry Kane curse. But anyways, they went back to their winning ways and let's do this tier list. So starting off with Neuer, we're going to give Neuer a B. Actually, no, we'll give him an A. He was pretty solid for the season. He did his part, one of the best keepers of all time. Obviously, he's on his decline, and I'm pretty sure he's only here for another few years. But he did really well. He won the league, so you can't really complain there. Backup keeper F. Any keeper that's been at Bayern who is not Neuer has been an F because they don't promote like young keepers. They don't let any other players play. The only times you'll see is when Neuer is injured, they'll call someone in. They'll probably just buy the second best player from the league itself. So he gets an F. Sasha Bowie, you get a C. He didn't really do much. You came, from I think Frankfurt. I want to say he came from one of these teams, and didn't really provide much cover in the fullbacks position. So we'll give him a C for that. Goretzka gets a B. Solid midfielder. He actually played a ton this season, and he is on the older side of things. But I think without him, the midfield isn't complete, and he's been there for many years. So we'll give him a B for that. This player, I don't know who he is, and I don't think he played much at all, so he gets an F. Paulinho, we give him a B. Good transfer for bringing Paulinho in, but I just don't think he's a Bayern Munich type of player. He's probably going to stay there for a few years and probably move on. He played a decent amount of games this season, as more of a deep-lying midfielder. So for that reason, he gets a B. Kim Min-jae, he gets a B as well. I think there's better center backs out there, He was brought in for big money, and I think they want big money for him, like 70, 80 million for transfer wise. But he's not the same. Like, he is not that good of a player, and for that reason, I think he gets a B. Kimmich gets an S. Perfect CDM. He can play in the right back position. Captain of this team, he gets an S. He's just unstoppable. He's one of the best in his positions, and he's been doing it for many, many years. Without him, Bayern don't win the Bundesliga at all or make it that far in many other competitions. So easy S for Kimmich. Harry Kane gets an S as well. Scored I think over 40 goals this season. Harry Kane, just another successful season. He won his first trophy, which was really big for him. So for him, I think he's a top 5 striker in the world, arguably. So he gets an S for helping Bayern Munich get to the end of all these competitions. And replacing Lewandowski is no major. It's a major decision right there by the team. So and he found his way to score many goals during this time. Conrad, whatever his name is, C. You can do better. There's a lot of better players out there. I don't think he played much this season. For that reason, he gets a C. Leroy Sané gets a B. We obviously saw a decline this season by the wingers on this team, and he is one of them. Sané is a solid player still. He's still not like too old of a player, but he's going to Galatasaray. I would still say that Bayern, they used him for many years. He had a good season as well, so we'll give him a B. Muller, he gets an A. Not just because of his performances, but because he's a leader on this team, and his mentality speaks volumes to the team. Whenever they're down, he's the type of player that uplifts the team, brings the team to his full potential. He has that grit over all of these years. So he gets an A for sure, in my opinion. Michael Olise, where do we get started? One of the best wingers in all of football this season, 2024-2025. Came from Crystal Palace. People had their doubts. French winger, young. Is he going to really, prove in the Bundesliga for a big team like Bayern Munich? But you got to remember, Bayern Munich is a farmers league. There's only 3 good teams, and then everyone else sucks. Olise came in from Crystal Palace, and he proved his worth, scoring, I think, almost 20 goals, 20 assists type of season. Was consistently one of their biggest threats on the flanks. And I think they got him for very cheap as well. So it was a really good business by Bayern Munich. So for that reason, he gets an S for sure. And, people were comparing Olise to the likes of Lamine Yamal and Rafinha and these other big wingers like Vinicius Jr. But let's be honest, it's just one season. We can't hype him up that much yet. And I don't think he's at their level. But for Bayern Munich, an S for sure. This is Pavlovic. Pavlovic gets a. He's one for the future for sure, but he's here for now as well. he might have been injured this season for a little bit, but I think someone like him, you gotta keep him in the team. You gotta keep him strong. He had a good season still, so we'll give him an A for that. Alfonso Davies, we give an A for Alfonso. He was also facing injuries this season, and he hasn't been the same since his like 2020 Bayern Munich prime days. It might be interesting to see if he moves on from the club, because time is coming up, and he did extend his contract, but that's just typical. Will he look for a different move? We'll find out. Guerrero, we'll give him a B. A solid squad depth piece right there. Played a little decent amount of games because of Alfonso Davies' injuries. So we'll give him a B, for filling in the role, doing his thing. And he's a very aggressive winger who I don't think he has the best defensive capabilities. But for this season, he gets a B. Gnabry, I'm going to give a C. Just didn't have the same type of season that we're used to seeing from Gnabry. Still a solid winger, but I think for his reputation, he's got to do a little bit better. But I think, he's at the end of his time at Bayern Munich. I think he might be here for maybe the next season and maybe another season after that. And he's probably also going to leave Bayern Munich. But for this season, he gets a C. Upamecano, I think he's same as Kim Min-jae. He gets a B. Not the best in Europe. We saw the center back pairing get crushed a couple times in Europe. But, in Farmers League, they, perform well. He was brought in for big money as well, but I don't think he's lived up to his potential. So going forward, let's see if he can, recover some of that form. But for this season, he gets a B for doing the job. This player, I have no idea who that is. This looks like a backup keeper, so we already know that's an F. Eric Dyer, I'm going to give him an A. He was brought in for very cheap. And he played a decent amount of games, for being at the age he is. People had written him off. But he came in and he almost started a lot of games, at the center back spot when you got other big young players in that position. So for me, it's very impressive, and I think he exceeded expectations. So he gets an A for sure for his standards. He played well above what people were expecting him to. So for that reason, he gets an A for sure. This player, I have no idea who that is, so we're gonna give you an F. You probably didn't play much at all, anyways. Jamal Musiala, you're gonna get an A for me. I think there's a lot of players that did better than you this season. A lot of young players as well that you were compared to over the years. It seems like this is one of your more average seasons, which is obviously still very good for his standards. But a young player like him, I mean, he's not that young anymore. He's like 22, 23. But someone like him, he's got to take that next step. He's got to show us why he's world class. And that's why Wirtz, stuck out this season more than him. But I would still give him an A for that. And Kingsley Coman, I think, was one of the better wingers on this team, so we're going to give him an A. Him and Olise were, killing it on the wings. It's funny that he's pretty much won not a Premier League. He's won a league title pretty much every season except for last season. So, that still speaks volumes to his character and his leadership. So the way this season went, we're going to give him an A. That's going to do it for today's tier list on Bayern Munich 2024-2025 season. Make sure to let me know down in the comments what teams you want me to react to next. It could either be like a different team, different sport. It could be anything that you guys want. Just comment it down below. Hit the like button, subscribe, and see you next time. Bye.